Well, hey, that would be fantastic, right? Try all kinds of things. But most of us aren't in that category. Some of us are in plenty of money, but not a lot of time. We may be sick. Maybe we're getting older. It's time to do something. You know, there's a difference between decision and action. There are a lot of people that said, hey, I'm going to come to this talk today. Joyful work in midlife. Oh, I would love that. So they decided to come, but they're not here. You decided, and you're here. So decision and action. You know, when it comes to the second half of life, we have to do both. So money. Third category is some money, some time. Maybe 6 months of money in the bank. That takes a whole different set of strategies. And some of us are in no money, no time. You know, if I don't get a paycheck next month, I'm in big trouble. So your strategies, of course, are going to be very different. But if you're a software engineer who loves animals, get out of the software engineering, get out of the high-tech industry and move to, you know, the animal industry and be closer to the content, right, of what you really enjoy. So it's important during reflection to think about money and your relationship with money. Finally, most important, you have to be emotionally strong when you're in the third stage of reflection. Why? It's lonely. The path to an authentic life is very, very lonely. I don't know, misery loves company. I'm not sure why, but as we're off trying to figure out our lives, other people are very quick to force us to make these decisions, and we need this time right now, even if it's a day or a year or a month. You have to be emotionally strong. It's very, very important to be emotionally strong during this time on your own path. I'll give you an example. I started my speaking career long time ago. When I left corporate America, I had my first talk set up. It was at Harry's Hofbrau roast beef sandwich in San Jose, California. I was so excited. I had just published my first book, P is for Perfect. I even had a poster made of me on the cover. I know, so silly. But my host had set up it was a meeting like this, and I was going to give my first talk. So I drove down there. My talk was at 6. Of course, I got there very early at 5:15. I went in. I saw the roast beef sandwich place, and people are eating, which looked like really good roast beef sandwiches, by the way. And I went into my room, and it was a big room with about 100 chairs. And they were all set up, and they had the speaker's podium. I was like, this is great. My new life emerges. I was so excited. It was about 5 to 6, and I was still the only person in the room. My host didn't even show up. I was getting a little concerned. By 6:10, nobody. 6:20, nobody. 6:30, nobody came. And you know, I said to myself at this point, what am I doing? I left a big corporate job to become a writer, professor, author, speaker, and there's absolutely nobody here. And I thought, I'm even speaking for free to begin with. And so I decided maybe this was a mistake. I wasn't very emotionally strong at that point, at 6:30. And I thought maybe I should just go back and do the old job that I was good at, but didn't really enjoy very much. So I was packing up very depressed. And as I started to leave, I want you to get this visual. An old woman, at least 85, maybe 90, was shuffling in. Her pantyhose were falling down. She had a white blouse, and she was eating her roast beef sandwich. And it was dripping all down her shirt. And she looked up at me and she said, Sonny, is this where the talk is going to be? And I said, no, I'm sorry, ma'am. As you can see, there's really nobody here. I'm not going to be giving my talk tonight. She says, oh, you have to. I live in the neighborhood. My husband died last week. We've been married 55 years, and I was looking forward to some entertainment to get out. Okay, so we sat down. I spoke to her for an hour. Of course, not my pre-planned talk. But I talked to her about her life and some possibilities, and she liked to work in the garden, and we talked about that. And anyway, an hour went by pretty quickly. And at the end of the hour, she said to me, first, she gave me a kiss on the cheek. And she said, thank you so much for spending time with me. I have some ideas now on what I might do to cheer myself up. And I really appreciate it. And I said, of course. And she got up, and she wambled out, pantyhose still falling down, still dripping even more drips on her white, now brown-covered blouse. And, as I think back to that story many years ago, I think, what if I wasn't emotionally strong during that period? What if I would have said to myself, you know what am I doing? I'm a fool. I don't think I would be speaking to you here today. So you have to be emotionally strong when you're going through reflection. If you're working, even part-time, I can guarantee you, although it would be nice, no one from Human Resources is going to run up to you and say, hi, Craig, we're doing a survey on authentic life, and we want to know, are you happy here? It's part of our new benefits program next to the 401k and the 2-week vacation, which you can't get for 6 months. It's not going to happen, right? So during reflection, you have to be emotionally strong. And then finally, at the end, ultimately, you have to give yourself permission. A lot of us live our lives, we don't take a step forward until someone else approves of the step. In midlife, that's behind us, okay? It's important for you to start to give yourself approval, permission to move forward. And then the domino effect happens. When you're in reflection, you can't give up. Because what happens if you give up during reflection, just like when you had the trigger event, guess what? Boom, back on the treadmill. Oh, that was hard. And that was kind of interesting to think about my life, but it's too much. I'm back on the treadmill. Most people do that. But you don't want to do that. If you could just push through reflection, please push through. You're gonna